Okay, welcome back to another episode of A Pipe Story brought to you by Pipes and Pickin'. And today is going to be kind of a fun episode for me. I don't know about fun, but it's going to be an interesting episode. Today I'm featuring two pipes, and they're my sampling pipes. And this is the first one. It's a Missouri Meerschaum hardwood that I picked up over here at the mom and pop drugstore. This is actually the first Missouri Meerschaum I bought. I just had gotten into pipes, and I saw that our local drugstore had Missouri Meerschaums, and I said, "Oh, I've heard of those. We'll fire them up." The other one is here. I got this on eBay. It's a little small pipe. Got a little bit of billiard. It's a little small pipe, a little small bowl. As you can see, to a Zippo. Really a small pipe. Long stem. A little bit of research I've done on it has, some people call it like an opera pipe, for gentlemen or ladies taking these to the opera, having a smoke between the acts, and, for stuff like that. So it's sort of the story of a long, straight billiard, kind of stays out of their hair, stays away from their clothes. Just get you a nice little pipe in before you have to sit through another act of opera. But I use these two pipes in my blending when I'm sampling sampling different components. And so when I first started blending, I bought a bunch of the components and I started sampling. And I probably did about 4 or 5 bowls of each of these. So I guess 8 or 10 bowls of each of these, just to get the components and the flavors of the light Virginias, red Virginias, Burleys, Latakia. And I really like Latakia straight. That's a good. You got to like Latakia, but I do, and it's really good. I don't know if I want to make it a go-to, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Cavendishes, but also the Periques and the Darkfires. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to fire up a bowl of Perique, and this Perique that I've got is not the granulated. I use granulated in my blends, but this is sort of ribbon cut, as you can see. Real oily still. It's probably going to snap, crackle, and pop like a bowl of cereal, but and this has been soaked up in the Perique bowl by barrel juices, and it's tough. So I'm gonna light up a bowl and of Perique, and then light up a bowl of Dark Fire Kentuckys, and try not to gag and throw up here on camera. So oh, that's interesting. So yeah, like I've talked about in some of my other videos, I really get into blending, and I really like that. I'm never going to be a pipe carver. I don't have the skill set. I'm not the most handy man on earth. I do pretty good changing a light bulb. And I know the difference in a flathead and a Phillips head screwdriver. And I know how to use a socket wrench. But that's about where my handiness leaves off. It's actually not too bad once it gets going. It's definitely spicy. Don't want to make a living out of it, but it's not bad. But when you're tasting these, if you do get into blending and you do start picking up the components, taking the time with the individual pieces of the blend is really important, because you can start picking up the nuances. Of the tobacco. Like, for instance, this Perique definitely has a woody, kind of oaky quality, which it should, given how it's made. And since it's so wet, it's kind of hard to stay lit. And the pepper is definitely forward, but there is still a lot of kind of woody stuff in there. So, you know, it definitely gives you a little bit of something when you're blending and you're kind of thinking about the stuff in the back of your mind and in your palate, what you're gunning for. Sampling like this is a good way to go. It almost kind of has, it's probably picking up some of the ghost in here because I didn't ream it out real good before I did this. But by itself, it's not really ultra hot, like spicy pepper. Um, it seems like it's one of those things that kind of comes out more as you let it age, I'm sure. So again, that's the sort of things you would write down in a journal. Really nice smoke though. Really nice billowy, smooth smoke. It's a lot smoother smoke than I really remember from when I did it. So yeah, good times there. So let's go to the next one. This is the opera pipe. Now I would not recommend doing this. I'm just killing two birds with one stone today, where you taste two different components. You know, try to keep your palate clean. I'm just kind of doing this for YouTube giggles. And this is straight Dark Fire, Kentucky. You definitely get some of that hickory barbecue taste, like what you see a lot of people talk about with Dark Fire. You get a lot of that hickory. There's the spice. Oh gosh, wow. That'll clean your sinuses up nicely. I was waiting on that to come out. Whew, it's like horseradish on a good pot roast. Wow. That's some good stuff. But anyway, yeah, you know, I had a good weekend this weekend, and I didn't fill this bowl up halfway. I'm barely halfway, but because I know I couldn't sit here with this small one and do a whole bowl of Dark Fired. But I had a good weekend, and my wife actually brought to mind some really good things. I had a buddy of mine play a show in Memphis last night, and I went down to see him. I hadn't seen him in a couple months, and I went down to see him. And first time my wife had gone out with me to hear a band or hear some music in a long time, just because of kids, you know. And you know, it's kind of hard to get a babysitter in a little small town to drive an hour and all that. So typically, that's kind of my time away when I do go hear somebody. But we were up in Memphis with the parents anyway, and she offered to come, and since she'd never seen him and heard me talk about this guy, and I said, yeah, come on. So we had a good, fun little date night at this really dive bar where we were not really the target market, I'll say. It was a little harder crowd than we're used to, but it was a lot of fun hearing good music and seeing some friends. And last night when we were going to bed, she said, you know, it was a lot of fun, even though it's late. You know, it was a lot of fun going back and remembering who you are, who you used to be, and kind of who you are still at some level. You just don't have much time to interact with. And you know, she's right. you know, we ought to take some time. And, you know, I know life definitely changes a lot of our priorities and a lot of our things. But it's not all bad to go back to some of the stuff that used to make us happy, as long as it's healthy. Going back to that every once in a while. Remembering who you were, going back and we talked about, you know, the personas with the pipes and the conversations that came out of the comments on that, the you know, who we put on the costumes, or not, the outfits that we put on, you know, going back and putting those old things on. Maybe going to hear a band, maybe, I don't know, riding motorcycles or doing something, whatever it is that you used to do that used to really make you happy, and you know, go in that direction. You know, it's a good thing to go back and dust those old hats off, go back and dust those old clothes off, and go back out there. Felt really good. And like I said, as long as that's a healthy thing. Going back and, you know, kicking the tires on that old truck, so to speak, that was a lot of fun. That's what I wanted to bring up to y'all today. Definitely don't forget about your younger self. You know, take some time out of your schedule from who you are today, go back and visit that old person. They're pretty cool. They're still pretty cool people. Now, my wife and I are paying for it tonight. We got to bed at 2 in the morning and had to get up for church this morning. Fortunately, there wasn't a hangover. We both quit drinking, but the definitely late night, early morning for the old Earnhardts. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. I barely can hear now, but it was still a lot of fun. So anyway, I just wanted to show y'all, talk about some blending, talk about some of my process of blending. Show you my sampling pipes, since they kind of operate together when I'm having to go back and try new things or breaking components down. You know, if my reds, I've noticed tend to, the longer they sit in the mason jar, they started to pick up different flavors. And so every once in a while I'll ream one of these out and go after them and you know, try to see what my reds that I have in stock are doing. So that impacts how I blend them. You know, when I'm thinking, you know, this Kentucky will do these kind of things. I've got that hickory taste, a lot of pepper, a lot of heat. This Perique, you know, has definitely got a little bit more of a wood pepper flavor to it. So how does that fit into what I'm trying to accomplish? Or, you know, how does it all blend together into those blends, into those proportions? So y'all don't forget what used to make you happy. Go back, as long as it's healthy, go back and visit that person. You'll have a good time doing it. And if you get into it, dedicate yourself some cheap sample, smaller pipes, and get to breaking down those components. So longer video today. Hope y'all enjoy it. Y'all keep on piping, y'all keep on picking, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.